So I'd like to start with a couple of questions. Who here is at the festival to learn how to love yourself? Okay. And who is here to learn how to be a better lover? Okay, cool, all right. Okay, so mix half and half. And who is here to look for like a future lover? Like you're here like looking for, okay, there you go. There's always one who's like looking for a date. And all of the above, right? So sort of, like both. It's loving ourselves and loving others. And so whatever it is that we're here for, we're here under the umbrella of love. Some of you might know that Eskimos have 50 different words for snow. They have different words for drifting particles of snow, to clinging particles of snow, to the snow that is on the crust of the ground, to freshly fallen snow. And so that's very telltale of how language is very nuanced in trying to describe what is indescribable. And in the English language, we don't have so many words for love. We have, of course, friendship love, your colleagues, you love them, your parents in a different way, to your lovers, to your pets, to that time when a stranger does something nice for you. They're all different acts of love. However, we only have really one word for love and then descriptive words around it, because English is a scientific language. And in my time in India, when I would talk to the swamis and the yoga teachers, they would say, we don't use Hindi to talk about yoga because English is so much more efficient because it has so many words to describe things. And because it's so scientific and there's so many words to describe many, many things, it doesn't get to the essence of what actually is. And so we go around trying to look for love outside of what the experience of love actually is. So the main three key takeaways I would like for you guys to walk away from this talk is to discover how emotions are connected directly to our ability to love ourselves and eventually to love others. I'm also going to cover why labeling emotions as either bad or good is very limiting to our full potential. And then I already said that at the end we'll go through a little experience. Okay, so how many of you are or ever have had the experience of being really frustrated when something that you thought would go a certain way didn't turn out the way you expected? Okay, so most of the people in the room, and so those who didn't raise your hand, maybe you should come up and talk and share how you didn't do that. But most of us, right, we get frustrated when things don't turn out the way we want it to. And this comes from instant gratification. We are conditioned in our society to want everything now. I am from New York, and who's here from like somewhere else? Not from, okay, I know you're not from here. You're not from here. Okay, so a few people not from here. So you know how efficient Singapore is. The ERP gantry, the toll booths, like this is not anywhere else in the world. And so when I go home to visit New York, the parking lot, it's such a trouble to get into. The tolls, you gotta wait and stop at the toll booth to wait for the guy to collect your ticket if you don't have like an easy pass. And so the efficiency of how Singapore is, we're really spoiled by it. And then when I go home, I just find myself fighting and getting angry and frustrated at the entire transportation system because it's not efficient, it's not instant. And then I come back to Singapore, I'm like, oh, okay. And so that's how we are. We're conditioned to want things now. And when things don't happen now, we don't give it a stamp of approval. And so when everything is around instant gratification, what happens is that we lose the value of learning from our mistakes. How many of you here have met your significant other in the old-fashioned way, like at a party or at a bar? Okay, these guys here. Anyone else? Okay, I'm not in that generation. I met my partner on an app. So long gone are the days where you go and you risk humiliation by using like pickup lines and meeting someone at the bar. You just meet people on an app. It's cut to the chase, no bullshit. Here we go. What do you want? This is what I want. Because human beings are programmed to not want to waste time. And that's societal, some of it's personal. And the point is that when we feel that we don't want to waste time, we actually lose out on enjoying the moment. And we start wasting our precious moments because we're chasing for something that is actually already here. Because of this conditioning of instant gratification, love has been repackaged by this fast food mentality. And in this repackaging of love, we're not going to actually find and figure out what love is in an experiential way. So I'd like to talk a little bit and unpack what love is. One of my spiritual mentors, Courtney Bauer, she's the creator of the curriculum OM, and she made love into an acronym. And she says that love is the law of vastness expressing. And vastness in the sense that the universe is vast, everything is spacious. It's everything under the sun. It's the entire spectrum of the human experience. And that includes the lows, the highs, and everything in between. So when we are constantly focused on positive emotions, positivity, negative emotions, negativity, we get stuck in what we call a dualistic web. And when we get stuck in this, we don't actually take and appreciate what the negative emotions like anger or grief or anything like fear, like Martha was talking a little bit about what is forbidden, that really comes from fear of being found out. And when we don't connect to how those are opportunities for us to come out and transmute those experiences into something more productive, we become stagnant. And so a lot of people ask me, what is good for me and what is bad for me? And that's a conditioned way of thinking, because our parents said, be a good girl. Be a good girl because you will get this, 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 this. And if you're a bad girl, you won't get this, this, this. So we associate all of these conditioned patterns with happiness and with love. Like just the other day, I had a client, she always comes in and she says something to my dog, and it bothers me a little bit, but I just let it be because I know it's her conditioned pattern. And then I realized, wait, let me address this. She kept saying, are you a naughty girl? Are you a naughty girl? To my dog, because that's her conditioned pattern. She's playing out whatever her parents did to her. Are you being a good girl? Are you being a bad girl? To my dog. And my dog doesn't like it. You can see in her body language. So I just said, hey, listen, I don't want you to talk to my dog that way because she's not naughty. She's a dog. She just is. And human beings are like that too. If we take away all of the programs that have been layered in from 0 through 7, from mommy and daddy, we'll figure out that there actually is no right and wrong, but really just whatever we value and whatever we figure out that works for ourselves. And so if we can just broaden our scope of love with this law of vastness expressing acronym, of including familial love, the love of friends, the love of your partner, the love of adoration when someone that you love kisses you, to include also the love of humiliation, the love of shame, or the love of challenge, or the love of something that is fearful in your life and you've stepped outside of your comfort zone and then you've surpassed it, you've conquered it. And so this really is a more vast definition of what love is. It's not, oh, I want everything to be perfect, rainbows and Care Bears, because that's not real. Life is like this, it's a wave. And I go through my up moments and I feel really energized, really inspired, and then there are moments I get really depressed. And what I do in those places of depression is I recuperate. I use it as an opportunity to breathe, to take time for myself. I'll not connect to people, and I'll connect to nature, and I'll find time to travel. Instead of trying to want things to always be at the top of the wave. Because if you look at nature, nothing ever is like that. Waves go up and waves have to crash down. What goes up must come down, and then it's this cycle. So with that, I'd like to talk a little bit about fear. How many of you here have ever been embarrassed? Okay, most of you. I have a story to share. When I was 19, I was very fearful of singing in public because my brother and my sister used to tease me as a kid, and they said I sounded really bad. So I kind of believed that to be true. So I just was like, I couldn't, if I opened my mouth in front of people, I couldn't. Piano recital, I would freeze. It was anything that was in front of people. But there was something inside of me when I was in high school. I wanted to do theater. It was my way to express. So I would do it like in quiet, away from my brother and my sister, away from people who would be judging me. And then eventually I decided I didn't want to do liberal arts for university. I'm going to go study to be an actor. So I auditioned for acting conservatory at SUNY Purchase, and they wanted two things, monologues and a song. So there was a classical Shakespearean monologue I had to do, and then there was a contemporary monologue. That's not a problem, but it was a song, because I was really confused. This isn't a music program. Why do I have to sing a song? And so I got really nervous. There was something inside of me that overrode the fear. There was a part of me that needed to be heard, needed to be understood, and so that won. And then I ended up going to acting school, and it wasn't about how good I sang. They actually wanted to see me in my most vulnerable state, because they knew I wasn't comfortable with it. They wanted to challenge me and see how I dealt with pressure in the moment. So that was a really important lesson in terms of using fear as a motivator to bring me into a different experience of self-appreciation, self-worth. And so fear, we are biologically programmed to feel fear because back in the day when there were saber-toothed tigers and things chasing us, and we didn't have infrastructure to protect us, we had to run from animals. It was fight or flight, things that would eat us. And nowadays we don't have that. And so our biological responses are still in our system. And so we cannot eliminate fear. I get fearful. My fears are different from your fears, and your fears are different from this person's fears. But what we can do with fear is to befriend fear and then to change what that experience of fear is into something else. Martha was saying something about the rush that you feel when you do something taboo or forbidden. And this is actually tied into fear. When we're afraid of being found out because our parents think that we've done something wrong, or we thought that, society will think that we've done something wrong, there's a rush. So there's a secret part of ourselves that wants to connect to that thrill. What Martha was talking about in her triangular diagram of commitment, intimacy, and passion, it's part of the passion. So I have a fear of heights. So every now and again, every year and a half or so, I challenge myself. I go, okay, I'm at a cliff. What am I going to do? And I have to make a choice. Am I going to jump or am I not? And it's a very similar experience every time. I get the butterflies. I get this whole flash forward of my life of, oh my God, what if I die and I don't do all this? But then I have to make a decision. Am I going to overcome it or am I going to stay in this place of safety? And most people would, a sane person would go, oh no, I'm not going to do this. But if you are here, most likely you're a little bit above the average person in terms of your consciousness. We're all here because we know that there's something else, something more beyond our little safe box that we have in Singapore. And so the more opportunities we can find to challenge our fears, our phobias, the more thrilling our lives will be. Because the energy of fear is a physical sensation that runs through our entire network, and then it's physical. It's a physical rush, and you just feel high. So at the end of that audition, after I sang, I felt two things. One was I turned beet red, because there was a little bit of, oh God, what did they think? And then the second thing was a huge sense of relief, which was euphoric. I felt a release. And that's what happens when we engage in things that we fear. And in society, especially in the corporate world, all around the world, there is this stigma around being too mad, being too glad, and being too sad. This is a rhyme my teacher came up with. Mad, glad, and sad. If you're too mad, you don't agree with your boss on how they do things, and so you get into an argument, let's say. You're going to get fired because you were too opinionated. You were passionate about, no, I think we should look at it this other way. If you're too sad all the time, people won't want to hang around you because you're a downer. They're like, okay, you're depressing. I'm going to get away from you. If you're too glad, people think you're cocky or arrogant, and they get really jealous of you. And so in our society, we learn to keep everything very dialed down, very muted. We don't want to show our emotions. So that's enough about fear. This goes the same for anger. Like, I am wired to be more angry than I am to be more sad. That's just the first emotion that comes to me. And anger really can be transmuted into motivation or passion and a drive. Anger is a really important emotion. If we're not angry about how something is, or an infrastructure doesn't work, then we settle, right? We kind of just let it happen to us. But if we take that anger and we do it in a responsible way, we're not just belligerently yelling at people, but we find a way to transmute that anger and make it into productive action, then we can actually start to make change. The same thing with grief. When someone dies, you cry, right? You feel it. And you go through this whole period of mourning, and then you take that energy and you allow it to bring new realization so you can move on to the next chapter of your life. So these are some of the negative emotions that a lot of people, they come to me and go, I want to get rid of this. Sorry, you can't. But what I can help you do is plant it in the garden and let's turn it into something else. So I'd like to do a little experience. Is that okay? We're going to do a little breathing and I'm going to help you go in somewhere. But I feel like I need to sit because standing is weird for this. Okay, so I'm going to grab this chair. Okay, just a little experience. If you want to. If you don't want to and you just want to watch everyone sit there with their eyes closed, that's cool, but that's also weird. So come sit upright and ground your feet onto the ground. And you can rest your palms facing up or wherever is comfortable. And let's just mobilize the spine a little bit. So lift your chest up, lift your throat, extending the spine to the sky. And then round your spine like a cat. Drop your chin to the chest. Push the back into the seat. Do that a few times. Roll the spine up, opening the heart. And then roll the spine forward and down and squeeze the belly into the spine. Do that one more time. Inhale. Stretch the front of the spine. And exhale, round the spine. Stretching the back of the spine. If you'd like to move side to side, do anything that feels physically called for right now. And then when you're ready, come to a place of stillness. If you still need to move and stretch a bit, feel free. Bring your awareness to the breath. If you like, you can place one hand on the belly button. Inhale, feel the breath expand. Exhale, feel the breath contract. Option to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, or inhale through nose, exhale through mouth. Feel what is necessary at this moment. And through bringing the awareness to the breath, notice the speed, the temperature of the breath, and how the breath feels in the physical body. Is it light? Is it heavy? Is it shallow or deep? Does the breath feel pleasant or rush? So many experiences of breath. Now bring your awareness to any point in the physical body that is uncomfortable. It might be an ache or a chronic pain, an old injury. Perhaps it's something new. And zoom into it as if you're a scientist with a microscope. And with your inner eye and your inner senses, go in and look at it. If you're visual, look at it. If you're more emotional, sense and feel it. As if we're having an unspoken dialogue without words. Observe what it is that particular area is trying to communicate. Is it trying to tell us to be more aligned, more balanced, more free? What is it trying to communicate to us with the sensation of ache or pain? And if you are able to go into the emotional experience of this physical part, is there an emotional story behind this physical ache or pain? And what is that story? Without judging the story, just watching it, like you're watching TV. Was it from that time in childhood, or a teenager, or somewhere in your adult life? Was it a moment of rejection, a moment of holding? Was it a moment of great fear or anger, resentment? What was it that perhaps could have led to this physical constriction in the body? And this isn't a logical process. This is a watching. Your body knows. Continue breathing and watching this space. The body is like a tree. It records every single event, every happening. So all we're doing now is connecting to the intelligence of our natural systems and feeling what's there. Feeling what has been known all this time. And simply illuminating it with awareness. And so whether that story is a physical or maybe it's emotional, there's fear or anger involved, zoom into that. With your microscope, zoom in and look at it straight in the face. And what does it want? What does it need? And listen to what it wants, what it needs. And whether that need or want, from the fear or anger or whatever emotion, whether you can offer what it needs or wants. Make a decision to say yes or no. Yes, you can have this. Or no, you can't have this. And so silently in our hearts, the only thing out of all that we know and out of all that we don't know, we can only promise this. Fear, anger, whatever emotion you're talking to, repeat silently in your heart. All that I can promise to you at this moment in time is this. Fill in that blank. And with 3 deep inhales and exhales, make that real in your body, in your physical experience. Inhale. Exhale, sigh. Full body breath. Inhale. Exhale. Anchor that experience into this reality. Inhale. And exhale. And take note of any shifts that might have happened from simply bringing your attention and your acknowledgement to those sensations that are happening in the body, that are happening in the emotions. And when you're ready, slowly open the eyes. So thank you very much for listening and for participating in that inner experience. I hope that gave you a little touch of how you can tune into your emotions on your own. And if you can't, on your own, and you prefer to do it in a group or one-on-one, I'm here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And thank you very much. And I will pass the mic now over to our lovely host.